Hello everybody, thank you for coming back for the second video, and I just want to say thank you so much for everyone and all their support, because I was real nervous about the first video and yeah, it was just lovely, all the response. So, and lots of people are really keen to learn more about nutrition, so that makes my heart happy. Yeah, enough of that. We are going to cover fundamentals of nutrition in this episode, video, whatever. And when I was writing my notes for it, I was like, what have you done? Because it's massive, and I was like really struggling to go, okay, what core points do I want to put across? So in the next 20 minutes, I hope I cover everything that needs to be covered. So in this video, we'll be doing why we need food, why we eat food, and the perfect diet, nutrient profiles, food groups, and macronutrients, micronutrients, diversity and plant-based foods, and also food security. So I'm gonna try and condense and distill billions of hours worth of content into 20 minutes. So if you do have questions about it and you are going through and you're like, wait, what? Or you're kind of questioning the simplicity of it, then I encourage you to do that. Like, that is what I want. You could spend more time on it, but I can cover it in 20 minutes and let's go. First of all, food is essential. Everyone needs it, every single one of us on the planet, and we need it for energy to move, we need it to grow and repair and keep warm, we need it to fight off disease and keep it away. We need it to make sure our eyes are working, our brains are working, our nerves are working, lungs, heart, like everything relies on food. But it's not necessarily why we eat food. So the caramel slice I ate 30 minutes ago wasn't because I was like, I want that work to help my lungs work. I want that work to help my lungs work. It was because it was bloody delicious and I was out with a friend and I was being social, you know? So have a little think about what the last thing you ate was and think why you ate that. Was it because of habit, or was it determined by ethics, or was it bringing you and other people together, or are you fueling for something, or was it just because of what you could afford at that point, or was it because it was just purely fun to make or tasty to eat? And there are heaps of reasons, and the reason for you eating it doesn't have to just be for one reason. Like my caramel slice was a few reasons, and also it doesn't necessarily have to be positive. So we can eat from a place of stress and anxiety, and we can also eat out of necessity, and sometimes there isn't actually a choice and it's just down to survival. Other times it could be because you feel pressured that that is the only way that you should eat and that that's the only way you can eat. So many reasons, and we're all different too, so it would be crazy to tell everybody to eat the same thing because we want to honour those different reasons for eating. Therefore, I would like to rid you of the expectation that there is a perfect diet. It doesn't exist.
The limit does not exist.
And part of the reason why we are so overwhelmed about nutrition, and like my younger self included, is because there are so many opinions and lots of people pushing and also searching for the perfect diet when it just doesn't exist.
The limit does not exist.
So I'm here to tell you that there is no diet that everybody should be eating. One person's diet could make them thrive and feel amazing, but that same diet for another person could really make them feel like deprived, and they would miss out on joy, and they might be low on energy, or they might not have as much social fulfillment. So why is that? Why, if we're all human, why is there no perfect and ideal diet? Well, that comes down to how different we are from one another. And your energy and nutrient requirements can change based on your age, your muscle mass, your diet history, and your metabolism, what stage of the menstrual cycle you're at, if that applies to you, or whether you're pregnant, or whether you're injured, or you have a disease or infection. So I want you to know that the only diet that's important is yours, and you shouldn't compare your diet to anybody else, not mate next to you, not the Victoria's Secret person, no. So that's your only focus, and a diet that complements your lifestyle. It's different if you have a child or someone who depends on you for that you should be focusing on that too, but really you should only be focusing on your own food and diet. And another reason why a perfect diet doesn't exist is because food differs. Food differs like pasta to apple, or pasta to bread, or even pasta to pasta. changes different. Even the same kind of food has different nutrient profile. And a nutrient profile is essentially just the ratio and amounts of different nutrients within a food. So when you see spaghetti being swapped with courgette spirals or zoodles, then just know that they are very different, very nutritionally different, and also will act very differently in your body. Even though people think it's a substitute, it's not going to offer you the same thing. So far we have food is essential. There is different reasons for eating food. There's no perfect diet, and that's because food's different and humans are different, individuals are different. So now we'll talk about food guidelines and dietary guidelines, which countries put out for their population. And this is based on a lot of research that has been done and is going on nutrients and their effect on the body on their own, but also in a food. And a dietary guideline is, the aim is essentially to go, okay, how much of these nutrients and what ratio, and how does that exist in food? How much of that, what amount of that does this population need to live healthily? I was watching that back and I explained that so weirdly. So basically dietary guideline or food guidelines are what they say on the tin really. It's based on a population, and it's what that population should be eating based on research done by usually the government in that country or population, or done internationally, and then that data is extrapolated onto that population. And yeah, to help people live healthy lives and to help health professionals prescribe and advise on healthy eating patterns. So like I said, most countries have their own guidelines, and I'm just going to put up the UK's at the moment because it has a very clear split of food groups. So a food group is a group of food that is characterised based on similarities. So you have starchy foods here, that's your pastas, rice, potato, bread, that kind of thing. And you have your protein foods, which are your lean meats, pulses, legumes, nuts, seeds. And you have your milk and milk products, and your fats and oils, and then all your fruit and veg. So a food group can be dictated by where that food comes from. For example, cow's milk and cow's yogurt both come from cow, obviously, but soy milk and cow's milk will still go in that same category because they contribute, even though they're from a different place, they contribute similar nutrient profiles. So now let's move from food and take it down a level to nutrients. And some I've mentioned already are carbohydrates, protein, and fats. So these are your macronutrients, and you need these in larger amounts, and you find them in larger amounts in food too, hence macro, big. It makes sense because we have larger stores of fat, visible stores of fat, we have large stores of carbohydrates, which I'll be talking about in our next video, and protein, so aka like muscle. But you don't have large stores of micronutrients, which is the next sort of subdivision of nutrients, and these, you find them in a lot smaller amounts in food, and also you need them in a lot smaller amounts. And there are two branches from micronutrients. You have your vitamins and your minerals. So your vitamins are like vitamin A, K, or vitamin C, or the B vitamins. And then your minerals are things like zinc and iron, magnesium, calcium, and other ones. And the main difference, and the only one I'm going to really mention today, is that vitamins are organic. So what I mean by that is that living things produce them, whether that's a human producing it or a plant making it or animal making or synthesizing that compound, that nutrient. Whereas minerals are inorganic, so they come from soil and water, and a living thing doesn't make it. So we need a lot of these macro and micronutrients, which leads me on to my next point of we need a diverse and ideally plant-based diet. And like, don't scream and run away just because I said plant-based. I don't mean vegan. You do not have to go vegan. I just mean that your diet should be based on plants. You can eat meat and dairy and animal products and things, like fine, whatever. But in order to make sure that we have a good chance, a fantastic chance of getting all of those micronutrients, we need to make sure our diet is diverse and we have lots of different foods going on. And plant foods are the best way to do that because they're so nutrient rich. And animal products are also nutrient rich, not arguing that at all. just having that plant-based gives us a better chance of getting all of those micronutrients as well. And an example of this, of the diversity, is, say for example, you're eating yogurt because of the calcium that you're getting from it. Great. But if your only source of calcium is yogurt, and you're not getting it from other sources like dark green leafy veg or some nuts and seeds or quinoa, then you're also not getting all the other accompanying nutrients within those foods that make up their nutrient profile. Does that make sense? Cool. And also, diversity is incredible for our gut. We do not live alone. We have something like 40 trillion bacteria or something living in our tummies, and they don't just sit there. They are very active and they contribute towards our gut health, which in turn has a major influence on our skin health, mood, mental function, and mental health as well. And yeah, it's massive. So we need to make sure we're taking care of them. And they also love plant-based foods, so fiber. You may have heard of a prebiotic. Fiber is a prebiotic because it's food for the bacteria. Great, so now we've done food is essential. We eat it for different reasons. There is no perfect diet, and that's because food is different and humans are different. And we've also covered what food guidelines are, what food groups are, and then macronutrients and micronutrients, and within that minerals and vitamins, and that we need a diverse and lots of plant foods in our diet. So lastly, I want to talk about a dimension of food and nutrition that you wouldn't normally find in a science nutrition textbook, but I think is so important, and there's a huge disconnect going on right now. And that is food security and food sovereignty. So I want you to open your mind a little bit about what nutrition is. It's not just eating food and what happens in your body. It's about the wellness of the individual, the wellness of their social circle, the wellness of their community, the wellness of their country, and the wellness of the world, right? And this holistic approach is really going to help us move forward as a society to make sure everyone is food secure. So what is food security? I keep saying it. I'm going to read it because I'm going to get it wrong. So food security, as defined by the United Nations, which are an international organisation that bring together lots of countries and they talk about problems and solutions. So as defined by them means that all people at all times have physical, social and economic access to sufficient, safe and nutritious food that meets their food preferences and dietary needs for an active and healthy life. You can see why I didn't just memorize that. And food sovereignty is similar, but it is the right of people to healthy and culturally appropriate food produced through ecologically sound and sustainable methods, and it's their right to define their own food and agricultural systems. This is a bit of a mouthful, but you can see it essentially talks to access to food, access to healthy food, access to safe food, and that's culturally appropriate and going to be good for their ecosystem, their surroundings, environment. These two are a right, and everybody in the world should have that. And if you're listening to that going, yeah, I can access whatever food I want, and I can go to the supermarket and I can pick up healthy food pretty much whenever I want. You might have a budget and pace, but you know, you can if you wanted to. That is a privilege. It shouldn't be. It should be expected, and it is right, but it is something that as a global community we're really failing at, and it's terrible. One in four people are food insecure in the whole world. And those people don't have the access. They can't go and buy whatever they want to, and they are eating, like I said earlier, out of like necessity, and they don't really have a choice for what they're eating. I just wanted to introduce that idea and not necessarily then talk about it and offer a whole lot of solutions, but I think it is a fundamental access to food is a major part of nutrition. So I just wanted to finish this video on a feeling of anger, like that is unjust, but also a feeling of gratitude. And we know gratitude and practicing gratitude is really good for our brains and our whole well-being. So I think it is so powerful and something you can do every day to be able to associate gratitude with everything you eat. Being grateful for your access to food, your access to safe food, healthy food, and food that's like appropriate to your culture and how you want to live. So yeah, I'm grateful for the food I have and I'm going to have, and I'm grateful if you have access to food, and I'm also grateful for you watching this video, so.
Thanks. I'm glad you came along, partner.
Thank you so much, and next time we'll be talking about carbohydrates, and yes, I'll be talking about ketogenic diet in there as well, so it will be juicy and informative, and I can't wait. Bye!